Hello, my name is Ashani Yapa. I'm a registered migration agent here at Sirus Migration. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Subclass 494. It's a regional employer-sponsored provisional visa. The visa is granted for 5 years and it gives the opportunity for the applicant to apply for permanent residency 3 years after the visa grant through Subclass 191 stream. In today's video, I will explain the processing times, all the 3 steps involved, and what this visa means for an employer and an employee. This visa, Subclass 494, is a replacement for Subclass 187 visa, or people used to call it RSMS. So for this visa subclass, for an applicant to be eligible, they need to have a sponsoring employer located in a regional postcode. I will put the list of postcodes in our description down below. Also, the applicant has to nominate an occupation from the MLTSS or medium to long-term skilled occupation list or regional occupation list or ROL. I will also give you a list of all these occupations in the description. There are over 600 occupations that you can choose from. The applicant has to have a skill assessment and 3 years full-time work experience for this visa. I will explain these requirements in detail in a little bit. Also, the sponsoring employer or the business has to sponsor you and also to nominate the applicant for someone to lodge a visa application. Step 1 of Subclass 494 visa is the sponsorship. For this step, it is completely up to the employer and you don't even have to have a nominated employee ready for this step. This step really proves that the business is legally operating in Australia and has the financial capacity to fulfill the sponsorship obligations. So documentation wise, we need businesses' financial documents and registration documents to prove the details that I said before. If the business has a current valid sponsorship done for a Subclass 457 or a TSS or Subclass 482 visa, which is valid for 5 years, then the business can use this sponsorship for Subclass 494 visa as well. This step is actually fairly a straightforward step. Step 2 of the 494 visa is the nomination. At this stage, the employer has to identify the position that is vacant in a regional Australian postcode, and also they have to identify the person that they wish to sponsor for this position that is vacant. Most importantly, at this stage, employer has to prove that this position genuinely exists within the business and they cannot find a local Australian to fulfill this position. To meet the nomination requirements, employers must show that the nominated occupation is on the Subclass 494 medium to long-term skill shortage list or the MLTSS list or the regional occupation list. Employer has to undertake the labour market testing and there are no exemptions available for that. And nowadays the labour market testing requirement has changed, and apart from the 2 job advertisements, employers now have to advertise the jobs in Job Active, the government website as well. The nominee will be paid an annual market salary rate. So this salary rate has to be not less than the temporary skill migration income threshold or the TSMIT, which is currently set at $53,900. The regional certifying body for their area has to certify the market salary rate for the occupation. The employer has to mention that the role will be available for at least 5 years because the visa is normally granted for 5 years. Employer has to pay the SAF levy, which is $3,000 if their turnover is less than 10 million or $5,000 if the turnover is over 10 million. This is a one-off payment and it is payable for each nominee. The last step of the visa is the visa application. So this part is mainly for the visa applicant. Once the sponsorship application and the nomination application has been lodged, a visa applicant can lodge their visa application. They don't really have to wait for the decision of the sponsorship or the nomination application, but sometimes we do recommend, if they have enough time left in their visa, do wait for the sponsorship and nomination decision before lodging a visa application. So for this step, employee has to, or the visa applicant has to again nominate the same occupation that the employer identified in their nomination stage. They have to have 3 years full-time work experience in the said or the nominated occupation. They have to hold a full skill assessment for this nominated occupation, and also they have to have competent English. All the secondary applicants or the family members of the visa applicant who they're planning to include in this application, if they're over 18, they have to show that they have functional English. Visa applicant has to be aged between 18 and 44, and the visa applicant and the family has to meet the health and character requirements for the visa. Now I will explain the conditions of the visa, the duration, and how you can convert this visa into permanent residency. Subclass 494 provisional visa is normally granted for 5 years. And after 3 years, if you can fulfill the income requirement and the residency requirement in regional suburb, then you are eligible to lodge the permanent residency. This visa comes with a condition by where the main applicant can only work for the nominated employer and in the nominated occupation. So if you change your employer or the nominated occupation, you must inform the department within 90 days and lodge the required visa for that category, or your visa can be subject to cancellation. There is another requirement of this visa for all the visa holders, not just the main applicant, even the secondary applicants. If they lodge a combined visa, they must live, work and study in a regional area, but all these family members will be eligible for Medicare for the duration of the visa. There is another important conditions that applicants should be aware of subclass 494 visa. Once you're granted a subclass 494 visa, you're restricted in applying for other visas, such as subclass 189, subclass 190, subclass 491 or subclass 820 partner visa for the next 3 years after getting the subclass 494 granted. So this is a great visa for both employers and employees who are in regional areas. For employers, it's a great visa to fulfill their short-term labor shortages where they can't find Australian employers. Or for employees, if they have the right skills and they're willing to live and work in regional areas and contribute to regional economy, this is a great pathway for you to get to your permanent residency in an easier way. One reason, because this occupation list is quite huge. It's about 600 something occupations in there. I know these days everyone's struggling with how skilled migration has cut down and not every occupation that you can get skilled migration through. So this could be a good alternative for you. If you're interested in this visa or if you want to know more information, please get in touch with us. We are more than welcome to help you.